Here we are again, at the scene of the crime. Now to thrust these papers in Gregson's face and see what he makes of them. Hello again, Inspector. Do you have a minute? What is it now? You should go home and get some rest. Here you are, Gregsy. Here are the representation papers.
Your ladyship? How? I don't believe it. How the hell did you get that devil? That stubborn... I'm fucking it all up. How the devil did you get that stubborn little ragabash to sign that?
I salute you. That is good work, that is. I can see you've been very busy here as well. How about some tea? It's a special blend to relieve fatigue.
Ah, lovely. Well, let's see now. Yes. I hardly feel tired at all. I'm fit as a fiddle, your ladyship.
Would it be alright if we investigated the scene now?
Do as you please. You know where it happened? Through the door in the back behind the counter.
Yes, the storeroom.
Right. Well, I'll be getting back to business then.
Will you be investigating too?
If I'm perfectly honest, we need to wrap this up before long. Can't afford to spend too much time on it. But there are so many articles to go through, it's taking forever, even with the lads working around the clock. Which is a problem, because there's another case the yard needs to investigate urgently.
That must be what Strongheart meant by far more serious.
So what I'm saying is, don't get under me feet, sunshine.
Come then. Let us not waste any time. Alright. Let's start in the storeroom. Behind that door. Whoops. Is the storeroom, isn't it? That's what Gregsy said. Yes, and that's where I saw that dreadful scene. Through the little window in the door. Mr. Windybank, face down on the floor with Gina beside him. As the accused's legal representative, you have the right to examine the scene. We must make a thorough investigation. Yes, of course, and we will. Behind that door, that's the real scene of the crime. Don't worry, if there are clues in there, I'll find them. Do I have to move there? Yes, I do. Okay. We're going to start in there and work our way out. Poor Iris. She's clammed up completely. Iris is bound to find this difficult. After all, Mr. Windybank's life was taken in this very room. Ah! Wait, Inspector.
What is it now, sunshine?
You took one look at me and tried to run away.
You think a Scotland Yard inspector would run away from some jumped-up little defense lawyer, do you? Well... I've never seen a ladyship looking like that before, is the thing. I didn't know what to say to her.
So you weren't running away from me, you were running from a 10-year-old. I'm afraid this is all a little much for young Iris. Some gentle reassurance might go a long way.
Would you like some chips? Don't trouble yourself unduly, your ladyship. I mean, at least you're not dead, are you?
Yep, that went well. I don't think that went very well.
Why? Look, I'm in the middle of an investigation here, sunshine, and I told you not to get under my feet.
And we have investigating to do ourselves. Yes, I'd like to hear more of what the detective has to say. Oh, Hurley, and inquire as to how Sholmes' operation is going. So, Inspector, what do you make of the crime scene here?
Sure, you've got eyes, haven't you? Use them. It's what it looks like. Nothing more, nothing less.
Iris, could you lend me a hand? So, Gregsy, what do you make of the crime scene?
Oh, yes, your ladyship. Do allow me to humbly explain. Last night, and shortly after the hour 1 o'clock in the morning, Scotland Yard police attended the scene. The one and only door to the storeroom was found locked from the inside.
So it's locked from the inside. We've been here before. The lock appears to be broken now. Was that what the police is doing?
Quite right, man. Quite right. We took the liberty of smashing the door in, as humbly as possible.
Oh.
As you can see, the victim was prostrate on the floor, thus-wise. Then next to the aforementioned body, we discovered the vile gutter child.
Are you talking about Ginny? She's my friend, you know.
Miss Lestrade, the hapless girl, was curled up on the floor, dead to the world.
She's still alive, you know. That's what, yes, when I saw her, she appeared to be unconscious.
I'm afraid to say, she had the gun that was used in her hand.
No. Presumably it's the gun on the floor.
In her pocket, we found the key to the door as well.
The key to the storeroom. And you say the storeroom had been locked from the inside.
Correct. All of which leaves her ladyship's friend in something of a sticky situation, I'm afraid.
Well, it doesn't seem as if it would have been all that hard to... Well, no. I was going to say to reach through the hatch and then lock it from the outside. But then they would have still needed to get the key on Gina since she was carrying it. Well, they could have... No, they could have another key, couldn't they? We talked about molding keys with Holmes yesterday.
Obviously, my personal opinion is that it's all some sort of misunderstanding.
Of course it is, Inspector. Of course it is. Gregsy, do you know anything about Hurley? Is the operation finished? Is Hurley all right? Is he?
Well, the thing is,
Don't mince your words, Inspector. You don't mean to say Sholmes is...
No, the operation's done and dusted.
It's just that, well...
Out with it! Yes, ma'am. They use something called a general anesthetic. It's the latest thing. Renders the whole body insensitive.
The whole body? Anesthetized? Is that even possible? Anesthetized. No, fuck it. It means the operation can be completed while the patient is fast asleep. Goodness, in the Empire of Japan, we just managed to not provide enough laughing gas for a tooth extraction.
Trouble is, the latest thing isn't always the greatest thing, if you follow my meaning. They couldn't get the medication to work at first, so it took hours for him to nod off, or so I hear. And now that the op's finished, they can't get him to wake up. Oh my. No one knows if it's the anesthetic still in his system, or if the bloke's just plain exhausted. But anyway, all they can do is stand back and watch till he comes round again.
Hurley.
The moment he opens his eyes, your ladyship, I swear I shall get word to you.
What a surprise. Even in matters of life and death, Sholmes has things to do his way. Alright, let's have a butcher's. So, gun. This is a revolver, a real one. Presumably it's the one that was on the counter. And quite possibly the murder weapon used to take Windybank's life. What's the matter, Susie? You and Runa look like you're about to faint. Well, it's just that I've rarely seen a gun in the flesh, and I've had issues with guns in the past. But anyway, we saw Mr. Windybank with this yesterday, didn't we? Okay, it is that gun. Well, we assume it's that gun anyway. It must be the same gun. And last night, when I looked through the spy hole, that is the gun I saw in Gina's hands. Mr. Windybank told us that he'd only ever
that he only had a single bullet loaded in the revolver, didn't he? Well, it's empty now. That would have been convenient if it was still there. The one and only bullet he had in his gun has been fired. So we can be fairly certain that only a single shot was fired from this revolver. The police have marked the position of the body with a chalk outline. Poor Windy Bank. He was a very nice old man. Well, he was shot just once, through the eye. Most likely the fellow died instantly. He wouldn't have felt a thing. Aha! I may well be able to help with that. What? There's nothing like the sight of blood to get the blood pumping, is there, Runo? I have a feeling I'm not as bloody-minded as you, Iris. I'm afraid the sight of blood makes my blood run cold. There you have it! You see, when it comes to blood, we're all different types. Yes, what a scientific observation. So you need this. Oh no. What is that? Scary thing? Oh, Hurley and I haven't actually come up with a name for it yet, but as soon as you see it in action, you'll understand. Watch. Oh! Oh! The color of the bloodstain has changed? There! Does it make sense now? Yes, I think I'm starting to understand. Good! It works on the principle that different people have different types of blood. Yes, how wonderful. The chemical it fires combines with the blood and makes it change color, so you can identify whose blood it is that you're looking at, in a flash. Oh, what a fabulous invention, Iris. Isn't it? Isn't it? I bet Ginny would say it's bleeding great. So, whose blood are we looking at, then? Well, I mean, presumably Windy Bank's. Yeah. Yes, this is where he was shot. There can't be any question of that. This could turn out to be a very valuable clue, so we must make a note of it. Let's keep testing. It's really hard to see how that's going to come back to be helpful, but I assume it will. As long as I have reagent left, sure. Chest. Out of all the articles in the storeroom, this is the only thing that shows any sign of being ransacked. Ah! What is it, Iris? That's the box file that my manuscript was being kept in. Oh! Iris's unpublished story, The Hound of the Baskervilles. Surely that's not what all this... I mean, that's definitely why she came here. We must check inside the box. Yes. Ah! It was there. Iris's story was there. Really? It was? Well, that's good news, isn't it, Iris? Yes. I mean, of course, I believed Hurley when he said he deposited it here, but still... It's a relief to actually see it. Really? Because that's not a very well-hidden frown. Let's have a peep at the manuscript. Okay, that's not anything. The Hound of the Baskervilles. How did Susato-san know the exact title? I suppose I'll just have to wait until she's ready to explain. I'm so sorry. Illuminating. Thank you for your time, team. So, let's see. Look at all these articles that have been deposited. The room is stuffed full of them. I can't believe how many there are. A bicycle, a gramophone, musical instruments, even some enormous paintings, look. Pieces of different people's lives quietly gathering dust in here together. There's something very peaceful about the atmosphere in here, or at least there would be if not for the chalk outline on the floor and the policeman shuffling around. Not much I can do about that, sunshine. Let's see, that's nothing. Nothing. Are we done in the storeroom? Oh, wait, I can look at it again? Iris? Don't worry, I'm alright. But we must find the true culprit. Yes, absolutely. Okay. Well, I guess in that case, we're gonna go back outside. Let's move. We should check outside as well afterwards. Like outside in the street, outside. We got some... Nope, I was so sure that that would be something. There's the article ledger there, and Mr. Windybank's notes, and, What's this? It looks as though someone left a little photographic print. Oh, look on the back, there's some writing. Is there? Oh, show us, Susie. 15th of February. Deposited one gentleman's overcoat. Okay, yeah, this is all very familiar. A gentleman's coat, pawned for £1. Clearly it was a very fine coat. In fact, I think... Yes, this must be the ticket for the overcoat that Ginny redeemed. And it's still wearing... And is still wearing, which belongs McGilded. I never would have expected a redemption ticket to be handwritten on the back of a photograph, though. Seems Windybank just used whatever piece of paper he happened to have to hand. But this photograph of a cat, it looks very familiar. Yes, it does. Oh, yes, you're right, very recently. It's the same one Ginny gave us earlier. Of course, I was forgetting that she gave us that. Well, what are you waiting for? Get it out! Alright, let's... Spot the difference, lads. Are they actually the same? I'm staring at the cat. Is the cat on the right? The cat on the right is facing... No, the cat on the left, sorry. Is facing slightly differently, is it? Or am I playing tricks on me? Now, I definitely feel like the one on the left has its head very slightly turned. Heh, I've got it. These two photographs hide an amazing secret. A secret? What does she mean? Do you think we'll get to do a logic and reasoning spectacular with Iris? That would be exciting. Do you really want to know? Yes. Converse. So Iris, about these two photos. The one we found on Windybank's counter and the one Gina gave us. What is this amazing secret? Actually, that's not quite right. Sorry. If you look carefully, the two prints aren't the same. I was right, I fucking knew it. They're not? Have another look at them now. Can you see? They're just slightly different from each other. I think so. It's very subtle, though. But what's the reason for the subtle difference between the two prints? Ah! Well, it's because they're a set, you see. No, I don't. This pair of photographs is meant to be used in a stereoscope. Everyone in London is raving about them. Oh, okay. Oh, a stereoscope. I do feel as though I've heard that word before. Oh, yes, that's what Mr. Holmes showed us yesterday. You see? There it is, just over there. Ah, yes, of course. That magical machine that makes pictures look real enough to touch. Well, actually, it's quite possible to see the same depth in pictures even without one of those. Really? How? Do you know how a pair of flat photograph prints can appear to have any depth in the first place? No, I have no idea. Oh, wonderful! Then I'll be able to tell you. She's over the moon, bless her. Shall we let her explain, though? I mean, yes. I, for one, simply have to know. Have you ever considered, Runa, how our eyes see depth in the world around us? Well, I just open them and it works. But the reason it works is because we have two eyes. Two eyes? Shocking. If you try closing just one eye at a time, I think you'll see straight away. What you see with your left eye and what you see with your right eye are ever so slightly different. You get a different view with each eye. Yes, the position of objects seems to shift slightly. actually. Exactly, and in your head, your brain uses that shift to estimate depth as it merges the two into one. That's how we can sense depth in everything we see. My brain is amazing, isn't it? It does so much without telling me. I think I see. So the pair of photographs consist of a left eye and a right eye view. Oh, well done, Susie. You're so quick. So if you can persuade your brain to merge the two pictures together in your head, you'd be able to see the depth in these prints. Yes, Runo, you're beginning to understand. And a stereoscope function is to act as though act as your brain and allow you to do that. Yes, but as long as you have the two images, two eyes and one brain, you can actually do it yourself without needing a stereoscope at all. You can, really. Let's try it. Let's see if you can view this pair of prints without the help of a stereoscope. Oh yes, I'm dying to have a go. So Sada-san really loves this kind of thing. You need to be able to cross your eyes. That's the main thing. Can you both do that? Cross my eyes. I think I can. Watch me. And see if you can copy. Make your eyes do this. Alright. Are you ready? You're doing great, guys. There! How's that? Wonderful. Now it's your turn, Runo. The trick is to concentrate on looking at the bridge of your nose with both eyes. Not exactly an easy task when two people are staring at you cross-eyed. Alright, that's enough practice. Now let's try looking at the prints. Start by staring at one print and slowly crossing your eyes. You should be able to see two overlapping images like this. Try it now, Runo. I'm just going to have to give it a try, I suppose. Did the print split into two images for you? Now, the next step is to put the pair of prints side by side like this and to try crossing your eyes again. The print should slowly merge together until... they form a new single image in the center. Oh yes! Mr. Naruhodo, it works! I can see it in the middle now. It looks so real, like I could look at it all day. I wouldn't advise that. Your eyes might start to hurt. Your turn, Runo! Pretend you're looking, cross your eyes, keep adjusting, overlap, like this. There, you managed it. So now you know how stereoscopic images work. What an amazing diversion. Well, I don't know who discovered it, but it really is quite extraordinary. So what did you think of these stereoscopic prints then, Runo? They're certainly amazing, but it isn't easy to get the knack of viewing them properly. No, some people find it easier than others. But that's why contraptions like this exist, for people who find it tricky. Oh, I recognize that. We saw one over there yesterday, didn't we? It's still there, in fact. If I remember correctly, you press this little knob here. Then set the pair of photographs in this stand in the back, and... it's still amazing, even though I know roughly how it works now. There's nothing weird with this image now, is there? I feel like I can see a silhouette right here in the bush, but I also might just be imagining it. Well, London seems to agree with you. Stereoscopes are very popular at the moment. You can find one of these folding contraptions in lots of households in the capital currently. But if these little machines are so affordable, surely there's no need to go around staring cross-eyed at pictures. Like you hate them. But it's much more satisfying to be able to see the effect with your own eyes. Well, I think so in any case. Stereoscopic Pictures. I'd never heard of them until yesterday. We've certainly a lot about them. Well, there's those two cameras, right? Pretty sure Sholm said he had two cameras installed, so we'll probably end up doing it with those, won't we?
Can't examine them. Alright. Although I suppose they have to be in the same place, and one of them was looking at the, or similar, and one of them was over the counter, wasn't it? That ledger that's open on the counter there really is enormous, isn't it? It must be an awful lot of work to keep track of all these hundreds of items in pawn. It's too much to think about. Better to sell it all and have a clear head if you ask me. But clearly Mr. Windybank was very careful when it came to articles. That's a music box. Do you have them where you came from, Runo? Yes, but I've never seen one as large as this in Japan. Oh, well, this would be a treat. Shall we have a listen? We did this already, dog. What do you think? Isn't it a pretty sound? It's a beautiful sound, yes, but it's a little hard to enjoy when all the policemen in the room are giving you fierce looks. Never mind that. If any of them say anything, I'll tell Gregsy to have a word. Iris Wilson, Superintendent of Scotland Yard. Let's see. Nothing. Oh. These shelves are where the pawnbroker puts articles that have been forfeited. Yes, it's really strange miscellany, isn't it? I mean, who would buy this horse statue, for example? Well, sometimes you can find some real treasures among all the junk, you know. Are you alright, Runo? Oh, it's just... well, it looks like a collection of useless junk as a whole, but when you pick out individual things, you can't help wishing you owned them, even that horse statue. That's exactly how a pawnbroker works. They're very clever. Alright. Let's have a gander at this, I suppose. I'm fairly sure this contraption was here yesterday as well. Here we are. I'm not confident I can get it closed again. Oh yes, that's a folding stereoscope. We just talked about this. Mr. Sholm showed us a picture yesterday that you were supposed to see in 3 dimensions. But for that, he used the big contraption over there. Ah, well, that's for use in public houses and places like that. It contains a carousel with all sorts of pictures inside. But this little thing is a much simpler design for use at home. There are special shops selling prints you can use in them. I have a little collection myself. I wonder if I could make money out of these in Japan. It would beat keeping my toilet sparkling clean anyway. What? This is a strange contraption. Yep. It makes you think. When Sholmes gleefully showed it to us yesterday, we were blissfully unaware that any of this was about to happen. So, anything else? I can talk to the police officers, eh? This officer has been staring intently at the wall since we came in.
Shh! Keep it down!
Oh, sorry.
There's a major clue just here.
Really? You must tell Gregsy at once.
But as soon as I report it, that'll be it. I'll be stuck here even longer.
Stuck here? What do you mean?
I haven't been home in 2 days already. I just need another constable to relieve me and take over my shift.
They have a really tough time. That doesn't stop us investigating, though, does it? No, I suppose not. I'm fairly sure that it was the calendar he was peering at. Oh, yes, this is quite violent looking, isn't it? I don't know how I missed that. Oh, yes, a bullet hole. And I can see the bullet is still lodged in the wall as well. Presumably, Mr. Windybank wasn't practicing with his revolver in his spare time. Ah, well, Mr. Sholmes likes to practice in his drawing room whenever he can. He's very patriotic like that. Sorry. Yeah, he shoots the walls a lot. It's all there in the Adventures of Herlock Sholmes. Isn't that right, Iris? Ah, did I write something like that? Partly in jest, perhaps. In jest? Well, he doesn't do it often. It's quite a dangerous pastime. He doesn't do it often? He shouldn't do it once. Forget that for now, Runo. Let's examine this bullet. What's that around the bullet hole? Is it blood? This is presumably the bullet that hit Sholmes. A suspicious red stain on the calendar. Aha! This is where I come in. Oh, right. If the blood is the same color in the storeroom, we'll know that it's Windybank's. Exactly. Here we go, then. Nope, it's not Windybank's. It's completely different to the color that Windybank's blood turned in the analysis. It just goes to show, things don't always go according to plan, do they? Nevertheless, we must add the sample to the results of the other blood analysis. Alright, what about you, sir? Police are scouring every inch, inch by inch by the looks of it.
Instructions for the yard are to examine every article in the shop and every ledger in the book of accounts.
Every article? That's a ridiculous amount of work, surely.
We've been hard at it ever since the shop was declared a crime scene in the early hours. We're sifting through it all in shifts at least, but still, we'll be working through the night, that's for sure, and even then we'll barely have scratched the surface.
A crime in a pawnbroker's. Must be every policeman's worst nightmare.
It's every copper's worst nightmare, you know. A crime in a pawnbroker's.
And you? Okay, it's the same. Every article, sifting. So if we looked at everything in here... Looks like it. So let's go outside. Baker Street. Alright. Have a gander. There's still a Scotland Yard carriage outside Wendy Banks. Never imagined we'd be investigating a case so close to home. I'm sorry, I was there, I should have done more. None of this is your fault, Runo, so please don't apologize. But it's the criminals who are to blame, so let's investigate and catch them. Alright, that didn't do much. Anything over here? I doubt... Something's blocking. Hold on. Okay, nothing over there. I can't see how examining this will pay off, but hey. 2 months since lodging here. I still can't quite believe it. I never expected things would turn out like this. When Hurley comes back home, let's have a big party. That's a great idea. I'm sure it won't be long. Yes. Alright, I guess there's nothing outside, so this was very productive. I guess we'll go back in the storeroom. Maybe we can talk to Gregson again now. Okay. Then we present anything to him. What do you think about this, bud? Got anything about that? Nope. Lovely. Ta very much. Yeah, huh? Alright. Wait, what's this? What's this again? Oh, it's the blood samples. Okay. So, actually, I suppose I didn't examine the other photo, but we sort of did that ourselves, didn't we? I'll do it again anyway. Ticket Gina brought in yesterday. Uh-huh. Yep, alright, that was illuminating. Should I have looked at the blood, perhaps? Hodo, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's something rather troubling here. I have noticed. The red smear, you mean? Yes, it looks like blood, doesn't it? I wonder if Sasada-san had picked up on that. Well, in that case, yes, we need Iris. We should show it to her before we forget. Okay. Well, unfortunately, I have to go outside again to talk to her. Here. Please, shoot this ticket. Oh, that looks like blood. I would say it's from a gloved finger, almost certainly a glove made of leather. Well, don't worry, Runo. You can leave the rest to me. That's not Windy Bank's color, right? Look at that. Yeah, that's a color we haven't seen before, isn't it? Okay, thank you for clarifying. We simply must add it to the portfolio of blood samples. Although, it would be nice to find out whose blood these different colors correspond to. I mean, I know who two of them belong to. Windy Bank and Holmes. You have an idea, haven't you? Do you know whose blood this is? Yeah. Yes. Not from the color it turned, but with a little deduction. That's right, I think it's clear. Iris, you think? Yes. You first, Runo. Who do you think it belongs to? Alright, this is the blood sample of... Gloved finger. So it has to be... It's thrice-fired masons. Thrice-fired mason? You don't sound so sure of yourself the way you trailed off there. Well, it was 2 months ago now, that case, and of course I'd never met the victim, so I'm struggling to remember the name. He was definitely thrice-fired, though. The victim of the omnibus case? Yeah, because it was a leather glove that put it on, so it had to have been his. His name was indeed Mr. Thrice-Fired Mason. But that would mean that this blood stain was left on the ticket 2 months ago. Yes, this also means... Because we've got 2 tickets for this. So this has to be the one that, like, the one that they got at the time, right? And the other one, the one without the fingerprint was... either a copy, or it was the one Windy Bank kept. Gina brought this ticket here to Windy Banks yesterday. I'm suggesting that the bloodstain was already on it at that time. So it's a smear of blood from the time that Mr. Mason was killed. Something else is coming back to me now. Mr. McGilded was also wearing leather gloves. Yes. It certainly does look like a leather-clad thumbprint, this mark. But we know that Mr. McGilded had no injuries anywhere on his body, from which we can conclude that any blood on the glove belonged to the victim, Mr. Mason. Mr. Naruhodo, you sound just like Sholmes. Minus the quirky slip-ups, I hope. Yes, I think you're right, Runo. Very well. Let's make a note of this. Alright, now what? Wait, box? Oh, this is the other ticket, I see. Okay, for the box. We should look at the box then, shouldn't we? Oh, wait, no. No, these are 2 different tickets. I'm a fucking idiot. Yeah, because this is for the box and this is for the coat. I'm just stupid. I was like... It's because they're both part of a set. In my mind, I just connected them. Like, oh, those are the same ticket. But I'm an idiot. Can we look at the signature as well? Okay, cool. We looked at the... Well, yes, we did look at this one, right? Because that's how we figured out that that was on the back of it. Never mind. Alright, what are we going to do now, then? Go back in the storeroom? Nope, okay. Nothing to say? Alright. Maybe we should go to the hospital. No, okay. The prison. Maybe we can ask her about something else now. Gina doesn't appear to be here. I believe she must be in questioning at the moment. Oh, but wait a minute. What is it, Iris? Well, if you examine the scene here carefully, there's another possibility, isn't there? Ginny could have slipped the key from the jailer when he wasn't looking. But the padlock is on. Why would she do something like that? That would only make her situation worse. Calm down, Runo. I was only joking. Oh. You had me worried there. I thought it was a great deduction. Yes, it must be your way with words, Iris. You're so wonderfully persuasive. Perhaps you don't fully understand the weight your words carry. I mean, fucking got him, I guess. Why you all dunking on this 10-year-old? Well, in the same situation, I'm sure Sholmes would have thrown his head back and guffawed. I'm not entirely sure that's helpful. Well, anyway, it looks like we won't be able to talk to Gina. We should try to make progress with our investigation in the meantime. Yes, come along then, Runo. Come along, Susie. Well, where are we gonna go now? Sholmes is sweet. It kind of didn't really feel like there was anything left to poke at, you know? Hold on. Let me just make sure Sholmes isn't, like, hiding in the fucking room somewhere. Cool. Up here. Because, man, I just couldn't see anything. I guess I've missed something at the crime scene. Because there's nowhere else to go, huh? Alright. Well, maybe Baker Street? Alright. I don't know what I've missed. Oh, what do you make of this?
Ah, what have we here then?
A redemption ticket for an article deposited. Looks like someone ran out of office stationery and wrote the ticket on whatever paper he had.
Yes, this is the ticket for Gilded's overcoat, the one that little driver turned up with yesterday.
Actually, no, it's not.
Really? Think you know better than me, do you?
No, I didn't mean to. Bruno's right, Gregsy. It isn't the same ticket.
Of course it is, of course it is. I never doubted you, your ladyship. So what's all this about then, if I might be so bold as to ask?
This is a second ticket.
One.
It seems McGilded, in fact, had another article deposited here.
Is that right?
I think we need to discuss this further with the inspector. Thank God. I've been scouring every screen. This ticket was in one of the pockets of Mr. McGilded's overcoat.
You mean to tell me?
Yes, there was more than one, just the music box disc, it seems.
I should have insisted on the lads taking it back to the yard after examining it properly.
Well, according to the details, McGilded deposited another article here with Windy Bank.
Yes, I can see it's written here. A small box, was it?
Do you have any idea where it is? It's another article belonging to Mr. McGilded. It could be important.
Well, yes, I suppose it could be. Please stop looking at me with those big turquoise eyes, all full of hope and expectation. It's too much pressure. I'll lose my marbles, I will. I'll go barking.
This is no time for dog impressions, Inspector.
That's enough sauce from you, Sunshine.
There is only one thing that springs to mind. According to this ticket, the redemption deadline's already passed, hasn't it? Oh, yes, of course. Articles are only held for 2 months. So the small box will no longer be in here, then.
That's right.
It's been forfeited. Which means it could be on the shelves in the front. Yes, the shelves in front. We must search.
You're wasting your time.
Oh?
There are dozens of little boxes out there, hundreds even. We can't possibly know which one might have been McGilded's. That information's not written in the ledger. Ugh.
Well, I think we should at least have a look, just in case.
Of course, your ladyship, of course. Very sensible of you, I'm sure.
This is getting old.
Dong. 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 Ah!
I nearly jumped out of my skin. Well, how could Mr. Windybank set such a wicked trap? I doubt he set out to scare anyone. Is that really the time? I think perhaps we should pay Gina another visit soon. Oh? Her trial is tomorrow. We must establish whether or not you will be defending her. I think we should ask her one more time. She may have changed her mind. Don't you remember, Runa? You told her she could rip up the representation papers if she didn't want you to be her lawyer.
Really? Did I say that?
Yes, you did. The deadline for submitting the paperwork is fast approaching. In that case, we'd better hurry back to the prison. Alright, Gina, don't make this more difficult than it has to be. Ah, Gina, good, you're back.
Ow!
The police must have finished questioning her then. Oh, how was it, Ginny? Was it awful?
Eh? Oh, didn't bother me.
Thank you for the papers you signed before. It meant we were able to investigate at Windy Banks.
Oh, right.
Don't you want to know how we got on? We've been ever so busy.
What's the point in asking? Won't change what everyone's saying that I did.
That's not... Gina, we came to ask for your final decision.
Eh? What decision?
About tomorrow's trial. Will you let me defend you or not? I must submit the paperwork now if you'd like Mr. Naruhodo to represent you.
Right, I see.
She's really lost her fight all of a sudden. But I know what that feels like. The worry is just so hard to bear.
Oh, all right then. Blimey, give it a rest with them eyes, Iris. So come on, fill us in. Who done it?
Unfortunately, we don't know that yet.
You don't say.
We don't know yet, Gina. But Mr. Naruhodo and all of us know that you are innocent of this crime. And while we haven't managed to work out who the real culprit is, there are a number of interesting facts we have managed to establish.
Oh yeah? Like what?
Well, for example, the reason for you being there in the first place. I think I know why you broke into Windy Banks that night. It looks like I'm going to have to take some evidence to clearly, shove it in her face. Alright, prepare to be shoved upon. We found this in Windy Banks' storeroom, the manuscript of Iris's latest story.
Ah. Oh, right. Well, that's good then.
Curiously, the storeroom at Windy Banks showed no signs of being ransacked for items of value, with one exception, the box file that housed this manuscript. It was you, wasn't it, Gina, who broke open the box containing this manuscript?
Eh?
You were determined to find out whether or not the Hound of the Baskervilles was really there. That's the reason you broke into the storeroom, isn't it?
Ah!
Why don't you tell us what happened, please?
Alright, yeah. This Baskervilles story is the latest Sholmes adventure, right? But it ain't been printed yet. So I figured it's gotta be worth a fair few pieces of silver, right?
Don't stop being so fucking obtuse. We all know that's bullshit. Yes, at least £5,000. What? So you intended to sell the split manuscript, did you? No. Ginny, how could you?
What? Wait, no, hang on. Of course I wasn't gonna sell it. All I wanted to do was find out if the manuscript or whatever you call it really was there. That's the only reason I was in the place.
For Iris's sake, isn't that right? We knew why you'd done it from the start, Gina. Of course we did.
But
I know you wouldn't do anything mean like that, Ginny. I just knew it.
Well,
When I saw the manuscript in the storeroom, it reminded me of what you'd said the night before. Oh, Ginny, that was so sweet of you.
Alright. I'll tell you why I did it. Stop looking at me like that, Iris. It weren't because of Iris. That's not why I did it. I just wanted to know the truth, that's all.
You wanted to know if Sholmes was being honest, if he'd really deposited the manuscript?
It's like I told you the night before. I never had a father. But Iris's lot ain't like mine. She got her dad, only she can't see him. And I reckon that's gotta be harder. That's why she writes her stories. They're about her dad, really.
That's what... I suppose that's true. They're all the stories are written from Watson's perspective.
That's what it sounded like to me, anyway. Last night when I was listening to what you were saying.
Stories about Daddy? You mean they're not the adventures of a great detective, as much as the adventures of a great detective and his trusty partner?
Well, that's how I see it, yeah.
You're so thoughtful and so kind, Ginny. Yes, we never thought about any differently, did we?
Look, give it a rest, will ya? I hate all this chummy nonsense, do you hear it? I hate it. I don't trust no one, right? That's how I work. Because if you don't trust no one can let you down. So leave me alone. Go on, Scarpa.
I hadn't noticed until now, but it's unmistakable, right there on both sleeves of that overcoat. Are some very suspicious red stains. What? What are you looking at me like that? I think it might be worth presenting some other findings in that area to Gina now. First, I want to do this, just to get it out of the way. We already have the representation papers and other documents. All we have to do is hand them to the court clerk. That is, if you'll allow me to represent you.
Nah, don't bother.
Ginny,
Rip 'em up and chuck 'em, would ya? They're representation papers or whatever they're called. This cell ain't fancy enough to have a bin.
so what will you do in court tomorrow?
I'll be fine on my own.
I don't think you will be.
Look, it don't matter. What's gonna happen is gonna happen.
This is one stubborn pickpocket. Alright, present. Do you want me to present this first, probably? Yeah. Do you see this pawnbroker's ticket, Gina? It's the one you took to Windy Banks, isn't it? The one for that black overcoat that you're wearing now.
Eh? What? That? I don't know. They all look the same to me, those tickets.
Surely not. Well, this one has a very obvious mark on it that would appear to be blood.
Eh?
Does that ring any bells?
I don't know. All looks the same to me. Blood.
And they all sound the same to me, these answers. Suspicious. Alright. Those stains on the sleeves of your new coat, Gina. They're blood, aren't they?
What?
Blood, Mr. Naruhodo. You don't appear to have any obvious wounds yourself, though. So it could be blood that spattered from Mr. Windybank when he was shot. Let's not beat around the bush here. This trusty friend of mine will get the results faster than anything else.
Eh, take it easy, Iris.
Don't move, Ginny. I don't know whose blood this is. What the... Forget the sleeves. The whole coat is covered in blood. Of course. The black coat of the fabric was masking the stains. That's why we haven't seen them until now. And the blood has reacted with the chemical to turn purple, which matches one of the samples we've collected. Yes, let's see. Who had the purple blood? Ah, it was the brickmaker. I see. Well, this is a fair bit more... Well, this murder looks like it might have been a bit more violent. The victim of the murder case 2 months ago.
I knew it. What? What are you all on about? The victim? What do you mean?
It's a rather uncomfortable situation, Mr. Naruhodo, but I think this makes things quite clear. It means the omnibus case is finally solved. The truth about who murdered the brickmaker, Mr. Mason, is revealed.
Oi, will someone explain what's going on? Stop telling half a story.
We can see now the victim's blood is all over McGilded's overcoat. But in the trial 2 months ago, the defendant said this in his testimony.
Now I ask yous, what's a good-hearted soul wouldn't rush to help a fella bleeding from his stomach? Wasn't about to start worrying about me gloves now, was I? I reached out to give the man a hand.
But if you look at the overcoat now, it's clear. These stains couldn't have arisen from McGilded trying to pull the victim to his feet. No, if that was what happened, the blood wouldn't have splashed all over the front of the coat. The only explanation for this pattern is that it splattered over McGilded's coat when he stabbed the victim in the stomach. I've tried to run from the truth for long enough, but there's no escaping it now. The true culprit in that case, Mr. Mason, was Magnus McGilded. We all knew this. Mr. Naruhodo, that horrible case is solved at last, and I helped the man walk free from that trial. I used all that twisted testimony and all that sham evidence to prove his innocence. How could I have let that happen? Runo, did you believe in him, though? Did you believe McGilded was innocent? No. I believed, or rather I think I was trying to believe. I wanted to, because believing in those you represent in court is a defense lawyer's greatest weapon. A weapon. Before we came to Great Britain, a great friend of mine taught me a valuable lesson. You mean Kazuma-sama? Listen, Ryunosuke. We lawyers are only human. We can't know for sure what is the truth and what is a lie, which is why we must resort to our primary weapon. An unwavering belief in our clients. That's all we really have. Unwavering belief. Only when we truly believe what our clients tell us can we fight with everything we have for their cause. In any battle, there can be no victory without faith. So I believe you, unwaveringly. Heh. What's funny, Gina?
Cool. Sounds like in this empire of Japan you come from, everyone must be soft. Well, come on. Look at the mess it's got you into, believing in that bog trotter.
Yes, I inadvertently helped a murderer walk free.
Well, at least you've learnt your lesson now, eh? Believing in people's never worth it. Someone always stabs you in the back in the end. Soon as you let your guard down, you've had it. Take a leaf out of my book. Believe no one, get hurt by no one.
Gina, may I ask you something?
What?
I'd just like to make absolutely sure. What would you like us to do with these representation papers for tomorrow's trial?
How many times have I said it? Rip 'em up and chuck away.
Are you really sure that's what you want?
I bet that's what he wants all now, Mr. I'm a Believer lawyer over there. Don't forget it was me in that trial 2 months ago. I led everyone up the garden path, didn't I? And you're telling me you can believe in me after that? Not likely.
Well, Mr. Naruhodo, a lawyer's primary weapon is an unwavering belief in his client. Ultimately, it comes down to whether or not I feel I can trust Gina. I trust her. Gina, let me say it again. Please allow me to represent you in tomorrow's trial.
Eh? Are you half-baked?
Not at all. You've not once admitted to committing the crime, have you? What's more, I believe that you're telling me the truth.
Seriously? Mr. Narrow Otto? Didn't you hear all of what I said before? I'm a born liar, fibs just trip off me tongue, and I'm a diver, don't forget. I pulled the wool over your eyes 2 months ago and got you into all sorts of trouble. Why would you ever trust me now? I just don't get it.
Gina, I do understand why you choose not to put your trust in others, but I assure you there is more to this life than you've yet realized.
What do you mean?
The world we live in is full of people you would do very well to trust, people who won't ever let you down. It's true that I'm just a student of law, and I'm certainly lacking courtroom experience, but I can promise you this. Whatever happens, and until my very last breath, I am completely on your side.
What? What'd you expect me to say to that?
Then it's decided. I'll take these papers now and carry out the necessary preparations. It would be a shame to throw them away now after it's been penned with your name so beautifully.
Do what you like. You Eastern lot, I don't know what you are, I don't get you.
We did it, team. We saved the city. Gina's taken herself to the back of her cell. She'd never admit it, but I hope she's feeling relieved. That turned out alright in the end, I think. Whoever's hiding there, show yourself at once. Eavesdropping is the height of cowardice. Miss Susato? Somebody is there in the shadows. I can sense it. Somebody who wasn't there before. What? Blimey, you're sharp, eh? I suppose you were using one of those mystic Japanese arts, like the art of stealth I've heard so much about. If anyone was being stealthy, it was you, Inspector. Gregsy? Oh dear me, I am most terribly sorry, your ladyship. I didn't mean to startle you. How long have you been listening in on our conversation? Good grief! Listening in? No. I just got word that there were some visitors who were refusing to leave even though it was after hours. I assure you, your ladyship, I only just arrived this very minute, not a moment earlier. That's all it is? Nothing untoward, nothing at all. After hours? Is it that late already? So then, I'll humbly excuse myself now, your ladyship. Ta-ta, toodaloo, cheerio, all the best, bye, and bye. That's a lot of farewells, and not one of them appropriate for her ladyship. Oh, but I wanted to have a chat. I'm terribly sorry, but time is pressing at the minute. Oh, I see. That's a shame. If I don't get this emergency at the Supreme Court dealt with sharpish, Lord Strongarm, well... Emergency? Lord Strongarm? Nothing! Forget I said anything! Anyway, I'm off. Alright, Gregsy, if you have to, but let's chat soon. Delighted. Charm. Can't wait. If you please, my pleasure. That's a lot of pleasantries, and not one of them sounded sincere. Gregsy's so funny. He says such silly things. It's certainly entertaining to see an inspector of the police fawning to a 10-year-old. But anyway, I wonder what this emergency is at the Supreme Court. I must attend the court clerk's office now before it closes. Yes, of course. Thank you, Mrs. Sato. Kindly escort Iris home now, Mr. Naruhodo. I shall meet you there later. And so our investigation came to an end. So Sato-san went to file the necessary papers for my defense of Gina the following day, and then it hit me. I could no longer suppress the wretched feeling that had been gnawing away at my insides. Tomorrow, so Sato-san would be leaving Britain and making her way back to Japan. Naruhodo-san, it's been a very trying day, hasn't it? I do hope you're not too exhausted. What about you, Susato-san? Today has been even more trying for you, I'm sure. Sholmes was shot before our eyes, Gina was arrested, and all on the back of the news that her father had fallen ill and she must return to Japan. I hope your father recovers soon. Thank you for your kind words. I wonder why it is that so many thoughts rage in my head like a storm, and yet I seem unable to find the words to express any of them. I know exactly what you mean. Anyway, I have one final task to complete as your judicial assistant. Once that is done, I shall make preparations for my departure tomorrow. One final task. It's just 2 months since we arrived in London, but we've managed to establish this office. It was finally feeling as though we were settling in. I would be lying if I said I felt no regret. I'm so sorry, Susato-san. It's just so sudden. I really don't know what to think. I've had no time to gather my thoughts. I know we've only been here a short time, but in my limited experience of the courtroom, I feel I've learned something. And what would that be? It seems to me there are many facets to people's personalities. Facets. And like a jewel, the light plays off them in complex patterns, illuminating their actions and their motives. But we see only a small number of the total facets, and what is illuminated is only a part of the whole story. What a fucking nerd! What lies in the shadows? What do those facets we cannot see look like? Perhaps there are some parts we'll never lay eyes on, for as long as we live. That's so true. Sometimes I feel as though I'm blind to so much, but I keep hoping that one day it will all become clear. That all the facets will be illuminated, and I'll finally understand how everything fits together. Naruhodo-san, I suppose what matters is that we keep our eyes open and keep moving forward, even if the way sometimes seems dark. It's amazing to think it's been just 2 months. You've grown so much. Sorry, I've what? How dare you? Oh no, it was nothing. Unimportant. Do you know what time you will leave London in the morning? Yes, I picked up my ticket earlier. I shall be leaving at 4 a.m. I see. Well, I'll escort you to the station. Absolutely not. Sorry? I'm sure you realize why I couldn't possibly let you do that. You have a very important day ahead of you tomorrow. Gina's trial. Yes, I know, but every word you utter will have the potential to determine Gina's fate. You must get as much rest as possible, even though, like me, I'm sure you will find it hard to sleep. But please, for me, do try. You mentioned one final task a moment ago. What do you mean? Oh my, I nearly forgot. Please, I want you to have this. What is it? Some huge bundle of documents. It's my notes from the case 2 months ago. The murder that was committed on the omnibus. The McGilded case. It seems to me this case of Mr. Windybank's murder, of which Gina is accused, is very much tied up with that omnibus case, in ways that are not yet completely apparent. So I took the liberty of consolidating my writings about the case for you. With everything she's had to think about, Susato-san still managed to do this, and all neatly laid out for me in her beautiful handwriting. It was my pleasure. I can only hope that it will bolster your case for tomorrow for Gina. Thank you so much, Susato-san. I will do my best to use it wisely. You really are the best judicial assistant in the world. Well, that's extremely flattering. But I'm sorry to say that I've been a complete failure. Sorry? I didn't catch what you said. Oh, ignore me. I was just mumbling to myself. I would like to look at that book. This is just 2 pages. Deceased, Defendant, Conviction was assured with 3 eyewitness testimonies. However, a surprise 4th witness testimony resulted in acquittal. It's getting rather late. I think you should go to bed now, Naruhodo-san. I must finish packing up my things in my room. Susato-san, I wish you the very best of luck tomorrow. Good night. Wait! There's something I need to... Hiya! What was that? A secret technique of mine. The Susato shut down. Shut down? Please, I implore you. If we have to voice our goodbyes, I won't be able to hold back my tears. Susato-san. Yeah, it's all pretty depressing. It truly had been a trying day. On our feet for hours, getting Gina to open up to us and learning the truth about the nemesis of a case. Physically and mentally, I was exhausted, and yet the idea of sleep seemed impossible. But I forced myself to close my eyes, and as a cacophony of scenes of our lives here in London played through my mind, eventually, my fatigue triumphed, and I fell into a deep sleep. Yes, I quite understand. That is a great weight off my mind. Rest assured, I shall put everything in place, exactly as we have discussed. Thank you so much. It's been an honor and a pleasure to be acquainted with you, Mr. Sholmes. On the contrary, the pleasure has been mine. I bid you farewell, and Godspeed. My dear madam. How foreboding. All right. Whew, an actual murder to solve.